Hello, hello, and welcome to Decaf, a production of the Beacon Center of Tennessee. Taylor and Mark, your besties, back at you on this beautiful sunny day in Nashville. Mark is back in Nashville, and I am happy about that because I'm no longer jealous. I've been having to really deal with that in my heart. But what's it like being back, Mark? Did you miss the beach already?
Yeah, I mean, the weather followed us, which was nice. It's in the 60s here once we got here.
It's beautiful.
It's always hard when you go on a long vacation because one party is like, I want to stay here forever. And the other party is like,
Sure.
I'm so excited to get back. So it's kind of this combo. I think the amount of time is great. I unfortunately have to go to LA for work, which I'm not looking forward to next week. But I get to see my friend Rob, so that'll be really exciting. But no, I'm good. I get to be back for a week, and then I have LA and New York, so I'm traveling a lot. But the New York one is just for fun for March Madness, so I can't complain about that.
Oh, that's going to be so fun. I can't wait until we can talk about March Madness. We're not there
Me
yet.
too.
We can't talk about it yet, but I can't wait to talk about it. We're so close. We are so very close. Let's kick off the show today talking about an issue that came to Beacon's attention probably a while ago, but that's finally coming to other people's attention. So what if I told you that your city council could propose a bill, not vote on it, and start enforcing it without even voting on it? Because that's what's happening in Nashville and in a lot of other cities in Tennessee. It's called the pending ordinance doctrine. And what it means is what I just said. You know, in Schoolhouse Rock, the bill, when it's talking about I'm just a bill, and it's going through all the little steps, like I'm just a bill, I'm just sitting here on Capitol Hill, and then he goes up and he's got to get passed and signed and all these different things. That's not how things work in Nashville. And that's not how things work in several places. And it's not just that they sit on the bills and don't pass them. Sometimes council members will propose a bill, it'll go into enforcement, and they don't pass it simply because they know they don't have the votes. And so they'll just start enforcing it, even though they know that it wouldn't win as a majority. I think that this is the most insane thing I've ever heard. Mark, I'm sure you've got some hot takes on it, but I can't imagine in what world is that legal? Well, in this world. I mean, it's insane to me. It blows my mind.
I think just because it's legal, too, doesn't mean that it's constitutional. I do think there's got to be some real issues with this, right? Like, it is.
Surely.
And again, it's kind of a weird, wonky bill, which in some ways I think now the city of Nashville specifically has gotten away with it for so long that you can propose something, you know, and you just don't even have to vote on it. It just goes into effect. I don't even know. I know the specifics are kind of weird. I think some, unelected body has to vote on it, and then it's fine, even if this council doesn't have the votes. It's just this crazy bill that it just flies in the face of everything we've ever learned, right? We learned that.
Well, it's specifically for zoning and property use changes.
Yeah.
And so, but think about what city councils do. Most of what city councils do is zoning and property use. So what in the world? This just doesn't make any sense. It's like the city council's whole job, basically, to do zoning and property use, and disaster.
Or in the city of Nashville, just spend our money insanely about the dumbest things possible. But I guess hypothetically, it should be zoning. But it's
sure.
I think the point here is that this is something that it shields representatives from having to take tough votes, right? That's number one. And it really, to me, it opens up this area of fraud where it can say, oh, this big developer is going to give you money to zone this and this way. You don't have the votes to pass it, but hey, just don't vote on it. It'll go past another thing, and if you don't vote on it, it'll go into effect, and I can still do that. And the most notable instance of that was the horrendous Airbnb law that the city of Nashville did not pass, but started enforcing. So I do think that people hate special interests, right? They hate this idea that the government is bought and paid for. I can't think of anything that allows that more than the pending ordinance doctrine, where you don't even have to vote on it. You don't have to have your name on it. You can just not vote on it. It goes into effect. The developer gets what he wants. And then guess what? It never goes away, and this person has it without ever voting on it. So they can't hold you accountable for the vote. It's really just undemocratic, if I'm being honest. That's really what it is, and it's a disgrace.
It is undemocratic. I'm going to read. So we actually have some explainers coming out on a lot of our issues that we're working on in the next few weeks. And Justin wrote this one. And this is one that, as a lawyer, as a property owner in Nashville, Justin gets the most fired up about. And when Justin gets fired up and starts writing, the man is unstoppable. It's over for everybody when Justin gets fired up and starts writing. He said in this little post that he wrote that'll be on our website, Zoning and other land use restrictions can impact how a person may use his or her own property, and never should these changes be imposed upon them without a vote of their elected officials. That's just as straight up as it can be. If the government wants to impose any kind of rules on its people, they should all have to vote on it and all be held responsible for it, because that's our democratic republic. We're not a democracy. Let me just say that. Our Republican form of government works. Our republic is that we elect people to go and make decisions for us. And if they can't come to a majority agreement, then the law shouldn't be in effect. Imagine if Congress did that. Imagine if that was something that was done at the federal level and people could just propose a bill and then it started being enforced. It would be madness. And that's what we're looking at in Nashville city government. So that's what the pending ordinance doctrine is. It's actually insane. It has no business existing. And it makes me not even want to live in Nashville, quite frankly. I mean, I love it here, but it's like the most insane thing in the world that they can do this.
And it's important to point out, this is not just Nashville. It can be the whole state, but Nashville just uses it the most frequently because the city council there, for the most part, is useless. So because of that, and it's crazy because in some ways you think that people are power hungry, right? Especially the Nashville City Council, which for now stands at 40 people, but they are hungry for power. So it's weird that they would give away power and not vote on something. They want to vote on everything, right? Except for stadiums. They don't want to vote on
except for stadiums. They don't want to do that.
Yeah. But it's really, really frustrating. And this should be, I don't care what you think about zoning. It's kind of a boring issue for some people because it's so specific but it has a big impact. But this is really just everything that we should be standing against as a country. I don't care what party you are. I don't care if you're a socialist. I don't care if you're a Tea Party person. Everybody should be against this because this goes against basically what the Constitution is supposed to protect.
I completely agree with you, and I think I couldn't say it any better than that. This goes against everything the Constitution is supposed to protect. Something needs to be done about pending ordinance doctrine. It shouldn't exist. Nashville shouldn't be using it, but if you give Nashville a pending ordinance doctrine, they're going to take away all your Airbnbs. That's like my new version of if you give a mouse a cookie. Maybe I should write like a children's book about Nashville government, and it'll really scare kids though. It'll be like a Halloween book only.
I'm not sure if half the council members could even read that, but yeah.
Savage Mark. Every time Mark starts to diss the city council or something, I see him like scanning in his brain for a word in his internal word bank that's like not profane and is like acceptable to say. Useless was a pretty good one. Illiterate, you just said. So like, you're really sending it this morning, Mark.
I only said half of them are illiterate, not all of them.
Okay, to be clear, only half. Okay, so before we get fired, let's move on to something. Let's move on to another topic. State of the Union was this week. And Mark, as I was talking about wanting to talk about this, Mark said, I think State of the Union is useless. And I tend to agree. I think it's a time for the existing president to get up and talk about all the good things he's done and all the good things he wants to do, most of which will never happen. But the most interesting part of the State of the Union this year was Jill's big kiss. Who saw, raise your hand if you saw Jill Biden kiss the second man. The first lady and the second man had a little smooch. You guys, I'm actually speechless. Have I ever been speechless in 31 years of life? No, I was speechless. That wasn't one of those things where they like went for the cheek and like accidentally hit the lip like you do with like family members, like your gross, creepy uncle, like you accidentally get there. No, they targeted in and kissed. I was so uncomfortable. And I was like, if this is how things are going, I'm going to throw up. Mark, that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. What are your thoughts?
It's okay. So I will tell you why it's the weirdest thing you've ever seen is because you've never watched I Love a Mama's Boy. Because some of these sons like kiss their moms on the mouth, and it's just weird to me. I know. Believe me, I'm with you.
That is so gross.
I mean, seriously, I think I've watched so much trash TV, and I'm watching. Gosh, you don't even want to know. I'm watching MILF Manor right now. There is so much bad television on. I know the worst show ever. I don't know how I'm watching it, but it. Awful.
You have terrible taste. That's how you're watching.
Yes, this is not even one of the weirder things I've seen on television. I do think it's strange. I guess people grade each other differently just because we have a general. I mean, there's a lot of things I do that are weird. Not that, thankfully, but I guess I'm just trying not to judge them too much. More importantly, out of that is that the State of the Union is a joke. It should be, it's essentially, and I mean, I hate to say this, but presidential debates are almost a joke at this point. It really is. Who's ever in power, and this has happened probably the last 20 years, puts a bunch of lines out there that appeals to their base. They all clap. The other side is there, being mad or yelling now. Yeah. And I mean, say what you want. I think this might be controversial, but I just think that, no matter what the president's saying, just sit there and be quiet. You don't need to yell, you lie. It's like, just be an adult about it. Like, you can disagree as much, like, he's the president. He can do what he wants. When you're president, when your party's president, you can do what you want. And of course, the president can go unchecked with everything he says. He can just make up stuff and no one can say anything. So it really has just become this like symbolic old feature that probably had meaning at some point where you're like, oh, I think in theory, like in grade school to high school, like, oh, they're going to announce their agenda for the last year. This is how things have gone, trying to make, I think, what should be a bipartisan speech. But it's not been that way probably since, I don't even know, maybe George W. Bush, maybe Obama had one or two. I don't know. But it's just become increasingly partisan and increasingly hard to watch because it is just to get sound bites to be on national television. That's all it is.
I know President Biden baited Republicans with wanting to get rid of Medicare and Social Security. The Republicans were screaming and carrying on about how he wasn't telling the truth. Listen, the last good thing that ever happened in the State of the Union address was when Ruth Bader Ginsburg fell asleep sitting on the front row. I had mad respect for that because, honey, I'd be sleeping too. Sister needs her beauty sleep. And I don't agree with a lot of the things that she said and did, but man, sleeping during the State of the Union, that was a power move. She was showing that she was the baddest girl in the room. And I really appreciated that. That's the last good thing that's ever happened to State of the Union address. I think it's just, to me, what State of the Union looks like right now is a campaign speech for the president. It's no longer, I think that in the times of yore, when when there was no internet and there wasn't constantly POTUS tweeting out priorities and posting all of these different things, when they got up for the State of the Union address, it really was when the president spoke. Now we're in a world where we communicate so often and our leaders communicate so often, the president communicates so often, that State of the Union can and kind of is just a campaign speech for the next few years. I mean, President Biden got up there and justified running for a second term. I know everybody doubts his health for good reason. And he got up there and justified a second term run and what he hopes to be a second term win. And I think that all State of the Union is a campaign speech at this point, and you'd be hard pressed to convince me otherwise.
I agree. I think that we work at Beacon, and like what we care about is we care about policies that will make people's lives better. And, we'll discuss policies. Other people have opinions of policies they think make people's lives better that we disagree with. But we care about substance and we care about policy. And that's why, like, something like the State of the Union just isn't interesting to me. It's just, it really is. And it's not, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what party it is. Like, I feel like people are going to say, oh, Biden lied about this, and this, like, or said this, this. Yeah, so did Trump, so did George W. Bush, so did Obama, so did all these people. I mean, it's like, that's what these things are now. But somebody who's serious about policy and trying to, like, find, it's a soap opera. It's theater. That's all this is now. That's all it's been. Yeah. And some people like theater. I get why people want to watch it. Like, I like watching debates, even though I know nothing substantial is going to come out of them. I want to hear the one-liner that's really good. I want to hear the the thought out, like, oh man, that's from a theater comms perspective. I know where they stand. They really don't say where they stand anyway. They kind of give these very broad things saying I love. But yeah, and I think that the Medicaid and Medicare example is something where the President Biden can say whatever he wants. It doesn't have to be true. One person on Twitter who's a Republican might have said that, so he can say that. And it's like, it doesn't matter. You have to let it go. And I think that, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, need to be adults and say, okay, like, let him say that. I can talk on interviews afterwards about how it was bad. Just let the man speak. I mean, Trump did similar things. So it's hard to justify watching that unless you're watching it just for a theatrical purpose.
I know. And it's not even that entertaining. I mean, I can't watch it for strictly my mental health. So I just it's so hard to see and so hard to watch. But those are our takeaways from the State of the Union. If you have others, drop them in. Tell us what you think about it. Should it continue? I mean, I think it's always going to exist because I think it's something that is symbolic of our country. And, prime ministers do prime ministers addresses in Great Britain, whatever. The president always addresses the people. I just think that it's not worth watching anymore. And I do remember getting excited about it as a kid, and my parents and I sitting down in front of the TV and saying, State of the Union is tonight. This is a really big deal. You get to hear from the president. Now I get on Twitter and I hear from the president. So it just is not the same as it used to be. And I don't appreciate it as much.
If I was ever president, I would do one I would do my best to make it appeal to everybody. Like, absolutely. I would do my best to not attack the other side. Because, again, these are people you have to work with. And we've always said at Beacon, right, it's important for us, even when we disagree with people, to treat them with respect. We don't question their motives, and we don't question them as a person. We might say, we disagree with you on this, but these are people you want to work with. And I know that we're in a divided, partisan country, but if I was Joe Biden, I would have went out there and say, you know what? I know we had disagreements. My goal is to move the country forward. We want to find areas to work in together. Here's a couple of areas I can think of off the top of my head. But that's not what he did. And I mean, it's not what Trump did. It's like you have an opportunity to really bring the country together at a time where we know how divided we are. And that's what Joe Biden ran as, right? He ran as a uniter. He ran as somebody who doesn't like socialism, who cares about and this is the perfect opportunity to show that you're that. And instead, he just made it a thing where he's going to punish his political enemies and talk about all these things that are liberal ideals or whatever, and give red meat to his base. And it's not, I don't blame him more than any other president. It's like, you're supposed to be a uniter, and that was not a united speech. It was something meant just to make the other party feel bad and to divide our country even more. For a person who said he was going to put it together, I mean, and again, I'm not blaming him. I think Donald Trump did the same thing, but this is the chance to bring people together, and he missed a gigantic opportunity to make us a better, more cohesive country.
I totally agree. I'll say this until I'm blue in the face, but one of the reasons that I don't really trust politicians and I don't like dealing with government, I know, right? My career, my job. One of the reasons I don't like doing it is because I don't like when politicians use the government to beat up on their enemies. And I had high hopes for Biden that he would rise above that, and he did not. So huge disappointment this week. That kiss, though, that'll go down in some of the greatest pop culture kisses of all time. And by great, I mean really uncomfortable, like actually the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. It is Super Bowl week. Mark and I each have our own set of predictions. Mine have to do with the commercials. His have to do with the game. I wish we'd played rock, paper, scissors to say who would go first, but age before beauty. Mark, what are your Super Bowl predictions for this week?
Well, first, I'm mad. The Bengals should have been there. They missed a lot of opportunities to do it. They outplayed them. The refs
I thought really about you.
It would have been a lot of money. The refs really helped the Chiefs, but the Bengals also made a lot of bad. Like, they should have won that game, and I think I'm disappointed to see that. With that being said, I kind of have a bold prediction. Everyone expects it to be a close game. I don't think it's that close. I'm going to take the Eagles 31-17. I just don't know it's going to be that close. I think the Eagles are a more balanced team. I think they're a better team. I think Bama, not graduate, but transfer, Jalen Hurts gets a Super Bowl. I think they're a better team. And truly, I wanted the Bengals to win. I had them. I like them. I think the Eagles probably would have beaten them too, as much as I don't hate to say it. But I think the Eagles are the better team. I think the spread is 1 point, so they're expected to be close. I just don't think it's that close. I think that the Chiefs were pretty underwhelming, even in the win. And a lot of the receivers are hurt, so I think the Eagles win somewhat handily.
I agree. I think the Eagles win. And I also think that the Doritos commercials are going to be the best. Every single year, the Doritos commercials are so funny. My favorite one that ever happened, it's been years now since this commercial came out, but this guy comes in to take a woman on a date, and her son is there. And he's like, "What's up, little man?" And there's a bag of Doritos, and he picks up the Doritos and he starts eating them. And the son slaps him and he says, "Hands off my Doritos, hands off my mama." I think about that commercial so often. I think it's so funny. I also think that there's going to be some financial groups that have really weird commercials. Like, do you remember
not FTX this year anyway?
Yeah, not that. Do you remember the dancing monkey baby thing?
Yeah.
I hated that commercial. I hated the commercials of the babies that sat up on their changing table and talked like adults. I hated those. I don't like anything where they make babies look like adults and or other species. That to me is weird. Those commercials are weird. I love the new Pepsi commercial with Miles Teller dancing around the room. Or no, it's a Bud Light commercial of Miles Teller dancing around the room to the hold tone, like the doctor's office hold tone. I love that.
I think historically, no, I think the commercials have gotten substantially worse, probably in the last 10 years. It's gone way down. But those, I think the best commercials, I actually saw a funny movie, That's My Boy with Adam Sandler. That was excellent. But they referenced that. But the What's Up commercials were excellent. Like, those were the best commercials ever.
Those were so good.
So good.
They do the movie Scary Movie, where they make fun of all the scary movies, and they do the What's Up, and the guy in the Scream mask is like, what's up? Like, those are the best commercials.
In that movie I saw, like the guy's like, "What's up?" He's like, "Are we doing that again?" And I love that. Bring that back. Everyone does "What's up," those were great commercials. Really, I agree. I think Pepsi. I think Bud Light's number one. Then you have kind of Pepsi. Doritos are usually pretty good.
Doritos are good.
It's gotten to the point where every year, I'm like, there's one or two good commercials, and the rest were fine. And
I know. I like
20 celebrities in a commercial doesn't make it good. Like, does people not get that? Right. Have we not learned anything from like Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve that just put a bunch of celebrities in something doesn't make it good?
Well, also, let's remember, though, when Pepsi used to do the commercials and they had the gladiators, and it was Beyonce, Britney Spears, Pink, and they were like the gladiators. That was commercials at their peak. That was so good. It was good for me because I was a young girl at that time and I loved those commercials. But I also love that Bud Light commercials are really funny. And then Budweiser has like the inspiring, like the Clydesdales galloping. Right. That is the best. I can't wait to see the Clydesdale commercial this year. And I can't wait for Rihanna.
Oh, yeah. Underrated commercials that people have not been talking about. I love the DirecTV commercials with the Real Housewives playing football.
Oh, I love that one.
I don't watch Real Housewives, but I think it's so clever and funny.
I think those are really good too. Yeah, and I love their outfits. I can't wait for Rihanna to perform. Did you see the NFL ad on Instagram that had them singing Rihanna's song? It had fans from every different team in their fan gear singing Rihanna's song "Stay." I mean, they are hyping this performance up, and I like Rihanna. I'm not like her biggest fan, but I like her, and I think she'll put on a really good show. Better than probably some in the past. Last year's was pretty fire. The Weeknd was underwhelming the year before. But I think that Rihanna's going to put on a good show for halftime.
I think me and Jason Edmonds are going to kind of write in to try to get Nickelback next year in the Super Bowl halftime show. Here's the thing. People would love that. I think it would go over super well. I think people would be like, this is funny. This is cool. Maybe even have Creed open up. But me and Jason are going to make that our goals. Also, I think we might go see Nickelback he's going to be in Nashville. They're going to be in Nashville.
So what I'm hearing from you, okay. So what I'm hearing from you is you want a frayed jeans, Affliction shirt halftime show with Creed, Brantley Gilbert, Nickelback, all of the bands that if a boy listens to them, I know I shouldn't date him. Got it. That's what you want.
Me and Jason both want that. So.
Okay. So you've got 2 votes out of millions of people. So
there's a reason Nickelback sells out concerts. I don't care what you say. People would like that halftime show.
This is like the loudest people in the room thing that we always hate. That's who you guys are going to be, is the loudest people in the room about this. Or
the people who sell the most tickets in the room, which Nickelback seems to do. So I will say that there is people like nostalgia. That's one thing, and that would be a good. I mean, they've done that a lot, right? They brought in who are the other halftime shows? They brought in some good past Maroon 5.
Well, Paul McCartney did one. The year after the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction, they were like, we're going to keep this mild and bring out Paul McCartney sitting at a piano. And honestly, that was probably what they needed to do after that year.
And 50 Cent last year? Like, I don't know. That's what people want.
No, last year was great. It was Dr. Dre and 50 Cent and Eminem. Like, that was a really good set last year.
Yeah, there's the rap nostalgia. Now bring back the rock nostalgia this year. Nickelback, who's still making songs, Creed, get Matchbox 20, maybe like Fountains of Wayne. Just do a whole 90s fastball. There's a lot of good stuff.
Okay, a 90s rock, but that means that Blink-182 would have to be part of it.
Sure, yeah, they can be in it. Okay. I'll allow that.
This actually transitions super well into our last topic. I asked Mark about this. So you might have seen that Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks are doing a few shows together, a very random set of people doing shows together for, I guess, just to go out on a big hurrah. But they're doing 3 shows, California, they'll be in Philadelphia, and they'll be in Nashville. So what I asked Mark is if he could plan his perfect concert, and it would be his 2 favorites that you would love to see in concert together. 1 ticket fee, 2 artists. Who are you going to pick?
One thing I want to say first is that let's not forget that Nissan Stadium can't hold any big events. That's what we were told when we were at the front of New Stadium, that there can't be any good events there because all the big names don't want to come there. Apparently, Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks are not big names. I didn't realize that.
Apparently
That's
not.
bad.
I didn't realize that either. That's contrary to everything I've ever known in my life. But we can't hold big events at Nissan Stadium.
No, nobody's going to come. Yeah, Taylor Swift, not a big deal. I would. I think my ticket would be the cheapest one ever. But I mean, I guess someone's like, would you want to see somebody who died? Like, what are the parameters? Is it just two people alive?
They have to still be alive. So this has to be something that if all the planets and stars align, you could see in your lifetime.
So these are stupid ones because these would be like $15 tickets probably because nobody else would want to see it. But I'd love to see Fastball with Kit Moore, who's my favorite country singer, and like those are the two I want to see. Not a weird one.
That is the most random thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, Kit Moore's pretty famous, but if I did Phil Vassar to my next one, I could probably put them and Fastball actually in a concert together, and they sell it for like $25. So I should try to do that.
Oh yeah, sure.
What about yours?
You're going to be a promoter. Mark's next career is as a concert promoter. Mine are pretty obvious. I think anyone could guess mine. Mine's going to be Blink-182 and Taylor Swift.
Okay, that's my guess.
Yes. Blink-182 and Taylor Swift. That would be the best day of my life. I would want it to be a show, if I was planning it, where they would play every single song they've ever done. I would pay all of my dollars for that. I would sell all of my worldly possessions to go to that show. That would be the best night of my life.
Another great idea is find two artists who absolutely hate each other and then put them on there together and see if they fight on stage. That would be cool to watch too.
Okay, Mark, we cannot let you plan events. This is why I plan the events at Beacon and not you. Yeah. You cannot plan events. Who would be the ones that hate each other? It would be Justin Bieber and Taylor Swift.
Mariah Carey and everybody, I think. Right?
Mariah Carey and everybody. Yep, absolutely. Who else hates each other? I don't know. This is a fun game. We should come up with some more of these.
I feel like Pink hates a lot of people.
Pink hates everybody. Yeah, Pink doesn't get along with anybody. So that would be a really good one. That's what we need to do. Well, on that note, if anybody sees Blink-182 and Taylor Swift going on tour, don't worry. I've already got my notification set, but feel free to let me know. For more information on a lot of the issues that we're working on, we're going to start rolling out blog posts starting Monday. What's Monday's date? The 11th? Monday the 12th? Yeah. We will be rolling out blog posts on our website starting Monday the 12th about some of the issues that we're taking. 13th. On Monday the 13th. Jeez, I am struggling today. On Monday the 13th, we're going to start rolling out posts on our website of all of the things that we're going to be working on this year and all the things we're taking a closer look at, starting with the pending ordinance doctrine. So if that's something that interests you, check out our website, beacontn.org. Don't forget to subscribe to Decaf, your favorite podcast, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And with that, we will see you next week. This has been Decaf, a production of the Beacon Center of Tennessee.